let's dive into this Xmarton stuff. Garage gates and doors, they call it. Well, yeah, well, we got all their marketing stuff right here, and they're saying some, well, pretty bold things about security, convenience, even a whole booking system. So is this just like a super fancy garage door opener, or is there something more to this whole thing?
It's really interesting how Xmarton is how they're positioning themselves. They're not just talking about basic remote control, It's all this fast and reliable security and detailed monitoring. It's almost like they're trying to solve for peace of mind as much as just convenience.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, we've all had that moment, right? That panic, did I close the garage door? But when they say detailed monitoring, what does that even mean? Is this thing recording every time the neighbor's cat walks through?
Well, I think it's more about having a real-time log of every time the door opens and closes, along with
who authorized it?
Think about the implications for, deliveries, contractors. You've got teenagers coming and going. That data could be incredibly valuable, not just for security, but just, managing a busy household.
Okay, yeah. I see where they're going with that. But one thing that's really jumping out at me is this advanced online booking system. I get it for businesses, but for my house, am I scheduling appointments for the pizza guy now?
Well, think of it less appointments and more granular control. Let's say you're having some work done on your house and you need to give a contractor access for a specific time, right? You could set that up remotely with Xmarton. So they only have access when you want them to. No more hiding a key under the mat or worrying about, giving out a code you can't change later.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point, actually. It can be handy for those situations. But I'm still a little skeptical about, needing this level of control in just a regular house. Maybe it's more relevant for those other, the target audiences they mentioned.
Yeah.
Like businesses or those fancy luxury properties.
Well, and speaking of target audiences, they specifically call out families, businesses, property owners, communities, and even luxury properties. It seems like they're really casting a wide net here, which makes me wonder if they can actually deliver on all those needs with just one system.
Yeah, it does make you wonder if they're trying to be everything to everyone. Let's break down each of those target audiences and see how Xmarton claims to cater to their unique needs. We'll start with families. What's the big selling point there?
Well, for families, it seems like it's all about giving parents peace of mind. They highlight the ability to grant access to kids coming home from school, who track when the garage doors open and closed, and receive alerts if there's any unusual activity.
Okay, so it's like the classic latchkey kid solution, but digitized. No more hiding a spare key into the flower pot.
But wouldn't that also mean that your kids are constantly being tracked? Is that level of monitoring really necessary, or is this just helicopter parenting taken to the extreme?
Yeah, that's a valid concern. It's a fine line between, security and overbearing surveillance. It really comes down to how the system is used and what level of control parents are comfortable with.
Right, yeah, fair enough. Now let's move on to businesses. How is Xmarton positioning itself for that market?
Well, they're really focusing on efficiency and accountability. They talk about managing employee access, tracking deliveries, and even using the photo documentation feature to verify arrivals and departures. Photo documentation. So this thing is snapping pictures. Every time someone uses the door, I'm starting to feel like Big Brother's watching.
It's not quite like that. From what I understand, the photo documentation is primarily for record-keeping purposes. Think about a business with a warehouse. They can use it to verify deliveries, track inventory and ensure accountability.
Okay, that makes sense for a business perspective. But I'm still a little wary of the privacy implications. What about those electronic handover protocols they keep mentioning? What are those all about?
It sounds like it's a system for securely transferring access permissions, which could be useful for businesses, dealing with temporary workers or contractors. It's essentially like a digital handshake that ensures that only authorized individuals have access to the property at specific times.
So it's kind of like a temporary digital key.
Yeah.
That you can grant and revoke as needed. That's a clever solution, but I still wonder how secure it really is.
Well, that brings us back to their claims about, military-grade encryption, which suggests that they're taking data security seriously. But we need to dig deeper into their technical specifications to understand exactly how that encryption works and what level of protection it truly provides.
That's a good point. We can't just take your word for it. We need to, look under the hood and see what's really going on.
Exactly. And speaking of looking under the hood, let's talk about property owners who rent out their spaces. How does Xmarton cater to their needs?
Yeah, that's an interesting application. I can see how this system could be like a game changer for managing access, for short-term rentals.
Yeah, they're highlighting the
it.
convenience and security of granting access codes remotely, and even
definitely.
revoking access when the rental period ends. It's essentially eliminating the hassle of physical keys and providing a more secure way to manage access.
Yeah, no more hiding keys under the welcome mat or worried about lost keys. Plus, you have a digital record of who accessed the property and when. That could be a major selling point for property owners and renters alike.
Absolutely, and it could even help streamline that whole check-in and check-out process, making things smoother for everyone.
Okay, so we've covered families, businesses, and property owners. What about communities and neighborhoods? How does Xmarton fit into that picture?
Well, think about like shared garages or parking lots and like apartment complexes or gated communities. Residents could use the Xmarton app to access those areas securely, and the community management could easily track usage and ensure only authorized individuals have access.
Yeah, I can see how that would be appealing for both residents and management. It's all about convenience and control, right?
Exactly. It simplifies access for residents while providing an extra layer of security for the community as a whole.
All right, and last but not least, we have the luxury properties. I'm guessing this goes beyond just basic functionality.
Definitely. For luxury properties, it's all about seamless integration with other smart home systems, high-end aesthetics, and a focus on personalized control. Think like voice-activated commands to open the gate, personalized access profiles for different family members or staff, and integration with, security cameras for enhanced monitoring.
So it's about creating like a luxurious and connected living experience where everything just works together seamlessly.
Yeah.
But with all this tech, is it actually user-friendly? We all know how frustrating some smart devices can be.
Yeah, that's the key question. They claim their mobile app and web portal are intuitive and user-friendly, which are the buzzwords we hear for, every smart device these days. But the proof is in the pudding, as they say. We need to test out the app ourselves to see how user-friendly it really is.
Right, because we've all been burned by those apps that promise simplicity, but end up being like convoluted and frustrating. They need to make sure it's something, your grandma could use without calling tech support every 5 minutes. Yeah, that's the ultimate test of good design, making complex technology accessible to everyone.
So to sum it up, Xmarton is trying to position itself as more than just a fancy garage door opener, right? They're selling a vision of a future where access is controlled, monitored, and even predicted by smart technology.
Right, and they're clearly targeting a diverse range of customers with their marketing. The question is, can they truly deliver on all their promises? And what are the potential downsides to this level of connectivity and control?
Those are the questions we'll be exploring as we continue our deep dive into the world of Xmarton garage gates and doors. But we've only just scratched the surface. In the next part, we'll delve deeper into some of the specific features and benefits of Xmarton, and we'll examine some of the potential challenges and concerns that come with this type of technology. We just
explored how Xmarton is like targeting different users, but now I'm kind of curious about the tech itself. Is this just a souped-up garage door opener, or are there features that really set it apart?
What intrigues me is how they're weaving data into the into the whole user experience. They emphasize, electronic handover protocols and photo documentation, which kind of hints at a level of transparency and accountability that we don't usually see in smart home devices.
Okay, so break that down for me. What do these protocols actually do, and what kind of photo documentation are we talking about? Is this thing like snapping selfies every time the door opens?
It's not about selfies. It's more like a visual log. Imagine like a delivery driver arrives at your warehouse. The Xmarton system could capture a photo of him at the gate along with the timestamp and the access code used. That's valuable evidence for tracking deliveries, managing security, and even resolving potential disputes
So it's adding a layer of like visual verification.
to the
Yeah.
to the digital access log. That could be huge for businesses, especially those dealing with sensitive deliveries or, multiple access points. But I can also see how some people might find that level of monitoring a bit creepy.
Yeah, it definitely raises privacy concerns. The question is, how much transparency is necessary for security, and where do we draw the line? It's a trade-off that each user will have to,
Wait for themselves.
right, because the line between security and surveillance can get pretty blurry pretty quickly. So speaking of security, they keep touting military-grade encryption. Is that just like marketing jargon, or is there real substance behind it?
It's a claim we hear a lot in the tech world, but it's important to understand what it actually means. In this context, it likely refers to the strength of the encryption algorithms used to protect your data. Think of it like a digital vault. Multiple locks, right? It's designed to make it extremely difficult for hackers to access your information.
So even if someone intercepts the signal between my phone and the garage door, they can't actually read the data.
Yeah.
Because it's encrypted.
Right.
That's reassuring, especially with all this talk about smart homes becoming vulnerable to hacking.
Exactly. And it's not just about, protecting your property. It's about protecting your personal information as well. That's why robust encryption is crucial for any smart home device that transmits sensitive data.
Okay, so encryption is key. But what about those situations where you don't have a strong internet connection? They mentioned Bluetooth functionality, but doesn't that kind of limit the range of control?
Yeah, they seem to be positioning Bluetooth as a backup system for areas with, limited or unreliable cell service. It's a clever solution. But you're right, Bluetooth has a much shorter range than Wi-Fi or cellular data.
So I'm guessing you would be able to control your garage door from across town using Bluetooth, but it could be handy for those times when you're like
in driveway.
Your internet is down.
Yeah.
Kind of like a digital spare key.
Exactly. It's about providing redundancy and ensuring you're not completely locked out if your primary connection fails. It's a smart move, especially for people who live in rural areas or travel frequently to places with spotty cell service.
All right, so we've covered the security and connectivity aspects, but let's be honest, even the most secure and feature-rich device is useless if it's made
a nightmare to use. What are they saying about
the user experience?
Well, they claim their mobile app and web portal are simple and intuitive, which are, the buzzwords we hear for every smart device these days. But the proof is in the pudding, as they say. We'd need to test out the app ourselves to see how user-friendly it really is.
Right, because we've all been burned by those apps that promise simplicity but end up being like convoluted and frustrating. They need to make sure it's something, your grandma could use.
What is concept support every 5 minutes?
Yeah, that's the ultimate test of good design, right? Making complex technology accessible to everyone.
But beyond just the app, I'm curious about the installation process. Is this a DIY project, or are you going to need a professional installer?
That's a good question. They haven't provided detailed installation instructions in these materials, but they do claim it's, quick and easy. I guess we'll have to wait for the full user manual to get the real scoop on that. I'm always skeptical of those, quick and easy claims. In my experience, even seemingly simple installations can turn into a multi-hour ordeal if you run into
unexpected issues.
Yeah, there's always that one screw that's stripped or the wire that's just a little too short. But hopefully Xmarton has designed their system with user-friendliness in mind, even for, the installation process.
Hopefully. Because no matter how great the features are, if it's a pain to install, people will be less likely to adopt it. And speaking of adoption, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the cost. Is this a luxury item only accessible to the wealthy, or can the average homeowner afford it?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. They haven't released specific pricing information yet. Yeah. But based on their target audiences, I'm guessing they'll offer a range of packages to fit different budgets.
That makes sense. They might have a basic system for homeowners looking for, core functionality, and then more advanced packages with additional features and integrations for businesses or high-end properties. It's like the classic, good, better, best pricing strategy. You get the core features at the entry level, and then you pay more for the bells and whistles.
Right, but it's important to remember, that the value proposition
Yeah.
goes beyond just the initial price tag. We need to consider
Yeah.
the potential cost savings as well.
Right. Think about the potential savings on like traditional security systems, key replacements, and even energy efficiency. If this system can, deter break-ins, reduce the need for physical keys, and even help you monitor your garage door usage to save energy. Those savings could add up over time.
That's a good point. It's not just about the sticker price. It's about the
You do
long-term value and
return on investment.
exactly. And when you factor in like the added convenience and peace of mind, the value proposition becomes even stronger.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from security and encryption to
Yeah.
user experience and cost considerations. But let's take a step back
Yeah.
and look at the bigger picture. Where does Xmarton fit into?
The evolving landscape.